Okay, I want to give you guys some tips for your quiz after lesson 9. My first piece of advice for you would be to watch this video on Bubble 2. This is the same video that we watched in class, but I do think that they cover the information well. So if you'll just take a minute or two and rewatch that. And then if you'll go to Bubble 3, this is where we really started learning about how the counter program works. So you'll want to take a minute and just review these things. Okay, this is a great example for you about what should be in the draw loop and what should not be in the draw loop. So remember that when we initialize our variable hippo, okay, and create the sprite and then assign the picture to him, those types of things are going to exist before the draw loop. They are not going to be inside the draw loop. Then the types of things that you want inside your draw loop are the background, and the background should always be before this type of thing where you have sprite movement. If the background is down below, okay, like here for example, what would happen is the background would cover up the sprites and you wouldn't see your sprites, okay? So let's just take a minute and look at the hippo, rabbit, and pig just to remind you about how motion works on code.org. So on the hippo, notice that the hippo is this blue guy, and what he's doing is he's moving diagonally across your screen. Remember when we practiced in class and talked about it? If you are going to use diagonal movement, it has to include movement along your x-axis, which is your horizontal axis, and your y-axis, which is your vertical axis. Okay? So you'll notice in this code, what we're doing is we're moving the hippo along the x-axis, wherever his position is, +2. Then we are moving the hippo along the y-axis, whatever his y position is, +2. So that's causing him to go diagonally this way. Okay. So let's talk briefly about positives and negatives on the x and y axis. If we were to program this with a negative number, he would be moving along the x-axis to the left instead of to the right. Okay? On the y-axis, the same thing is true. To get the hippo to move down the y-axis, we are using a positive number. If we wanted the hippo to move up the y-axis, we would use a negative number. All right, let's take a look at our rabbit. Okay, the rabbit is simply moving down the y-axis. Okay, so you'll see the code is rabbit.y equals rabbit.y +2. Okay. If we wanted him to move up the y-axis, we would use a negative number. The pig is, moving to the right. So we have pig.x equals pig.x +2. Okay, the positive number is moving him to the right. If we were to use a negative number, it would move him to the left. Okay. The other thing I want to point out to you is remember that up here, when we give a sprite a name, okay, so let's take the pig for example. Here I'm saying I'm going to assign the variable name pig, and I'm going to create this sprite at this location. Then I'm going to take this pig, these two have to match exactly, okay, pig.setAnimation, and I'm going to assign this particular picture to the pig, okay. Down below, inside the draw loop, this name where I'm referring to the pig must match exactly the way we put it up here with the variable. Okay. If there's one little difference, like a capital P instead of a lowercase p, your program will not recognize it and it won't run correctly. Okay, so make sure you remember that. Also, you want to be sure that your draw sprites command is inside the draw loop. If it is outside the draw loop, it won't work correctly. Okay. All right, I think, let me just look at the quiz real quick. I think we might have covered everything. Oh, let's talk a minute about rotation. Okay, down here, this doesn't actually show you the code, so let me switch into one of mine that has the rotation in it. I think my number 15 does. Okay, so let's just look at this code real quick and talk about the rotation property. Okay, so if you look at my code, what you're going to see here is that my bunny is going to be moving along the y-axis. The bunny will rotate. The chick is going to be moving across the x-axis. Notice it's a negative number, so the chick is going to be moving to the left. The bee sprite is going to be doing some type of diagonal here because you can see the x is involved and the y. The x is -1 and the y is +1. Okay, so let's go ahead and just run that so you can see how it's working. Okay, so here comes the bunny down the y and he is rotating. Notice that he is rotating this way. This is called clockwise because it's a positive number. If I change this to -5, he would be rotating counterclockwise, okay, towards the left. So that covers rotation. I think we may have it. All right, I think that we have covered everything. Again, the best way for you to be prepared for the quiz is to rewatch the video and then watch the video on Bubble 2, sorry, and then this video that I'm creating, and that should get you ready. If you have any questions as you're studying, just shoot me an email. I usually do check it a couple of times a night, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have before we take the quiz. Have a good night.